Sorry to butt in there. It's just like
No, not at all.
They got it.
It's something that needs to happen because Sheen is still on the board, and that's where St. Vicious has been getting most of his ganks with. So either or is super dangerous for both teams.
At least they're stopping the armor aura, right? Because
yeah, you got that point.
If they were the ones to take Xin Zhao, they would just be picking it into 52 armor worth of auras. And we know how powerful that is. Curse will run it all the time for them. Curse with a chance to go, I think, 8-0 if they win this one. So it's like, you better be disrupting their style at some point, and it looks like compLexity is trying.
It's like, how do you throw Curse out of their comfort zone when nobody's been able to do so? Last seconds on the clock, and we do see Thresh coming in for the second time here in the LCS. And NA.
I feel like I should know this. Was it compLexity that played it earlier today, or no? I don't think it
wasn't earlier today. It was last week.
It was last week they played it? Someone's played it earlier today as well, but the Twisted Fate coming out.
Was it? You're right, they did. I remember calling the Thresh grab.
Yeah, it was there.
Yes, it was.
My memory sucks. But yeah, Twisted Fate, Nijaki, lane presence, lane pushing. I mean, it's such a cool thing now with Voyboy being on Curse, how they've molded the rest of their team and almost their picks every game into fitting into Voyboy. Like, Nijaki will always pick something with a lot of presence. And if he doesn't, then St. Vicious will make sure to help Jackie out just so Voyboy can do his thing in the top lane.
Yeah, like we said, Nijaki may take that assist role within these games coming up here and just let everybody else wreak havoc. We'll have to see if that is the case. Trooper looking at a Rise pickup as the Sejuani is hovered on and quickly changes to a Rat.
Yeah. Ladamortis was like the only guy to ever play Sejuani, and he's actually really good
at it.
Scar
mid, man.
He's actually really, really good at it. And Scar does not admit a few times, but Ladamortis, I think he was hoping Kobe24 was casting because he went up to him and be like, I'm going to bring back Sejuani, man.
Bring it back, Sejuani.
Yeah. But Twitch and Rise is actually really good for compLexity. That gives them the late game presence that they've been lacking in their last game against Curse when they got the early lead and then kind of threw it away in team fights. That's not going to be as easy to do with a strong composition like that.
So we're looking at a lot of lockdown here from compLexity. They want the fight to go in their favor right off the bat. Ooh, trolling Kobe. I'm sure he's dancing in his pants wherever he's watching right now in the studio.
It's like, no, I'm not going to see it, man. We need
it's kind of like you can call it's a fake at 20 if it's 20 seconds left. Like, stop it. But Cop, Cop going back to the favorite of his AD carries. It was Cop. You know, it's Cop and Ezreal. It was MF and Ezreal all throughout the qualifiers. It really hasn't changed, and we're not really going to expect for him to pick anything different until somebody bans out both of those.
Cop plays favorites.
Yeah.
You know, he really likes Misfortune. He's going to keep playing Misfortune. Cops play favorites all the time.
Cops do that.
And Elise coming out for Voyboy. That'll be pretty exciting. It's something he pioneered on the North American side of things. He was really dominant on Elise early on. He loves going just really tanky on Elise and then wreaking havoc.
Well, it works for this team. They can hit up Rise. He's going to be tanky. They'll hit up Ladamortis. Will be pretty tanky. So the Q will do some good damage, at least for that focus. And he can execute Brunchy as he dives into the back line.
So this last pick for compLexity.
These guys are taking their time.
Is the top laner. Why do they want to go against Elise? Because at this point, there's no fooling around. They know exactly what they're going to be picking against. And Nick Wu has that kind of smaller champion lineup. There is Zed on the board, who he used to draw bans for. And I wouldn't be too surprised if he played that unless he's too fearful of Voyboy's Elise.
Let's see if they actually do choose the Zed. I was going to say that. I don't know if Malphite's in his pick. Renekton was as well, but there's no reason for that to be on the board here. You're right. The Zed pickup gets through, and he chooses it.
And Nick Wu's really good at Zed. I'm really excited to see this. It's a highly complex champion against another very difficult champion to play in Elise. So that top lane battle will hopefully be a throwback to fighting games for Nick Wu, and he can just brawl. And hopefully Saintfish doesn't come and gank him for him.
That's what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
For the team, as he knows the cooldowns inside and out for Elise, he's going to be able to have that. So we got two pretty damn aggressive junglers coming out for both teams. We know St. Vicious wants to be inside of compLexity's jungle right off the bat, or find a way that would be possible. Or at least level 1 team is quite scary from compLexity, so I don't know if they really want to go in on that. Both teams have a good amount of crowd control.
So for Curse, their team in general is a lot around Nijaki and his Twisted Fate presence. The bottom lane ganks that they're going to be able to execute with TF and Taric are really, really huge. And compLexity has that late game team comp that they're going to want to jump on top of. They just have to make sure not to get out-pressured by Curse.
So who do you see having the early game, if there was any aggression besides just on the turrets?
I mean, the early game, I think, goes to Curse just by the fact that they have the lane lord and Taric in bottom lane.
Okay.
You pick him and you walk up to people stunned. You're like, I did it! I won the lane! I stunned the guy! It's like, and Elements is fully aware of how to play him. He positions very well. He gets the boots of mobility later in the game just so he can land more of those stuns. I do like the early game slight edge for Curse.
I remember that back in the day when you put a Taric and a Sivir together, and you hit that one stun, the first boomerang blade, and the lane is yours for days. Like,
and you can still do that.
You can.
Nobody does.
Nobody does it. Bring back Sivir. It's kind of, I don't know. That ultimate, I feel like it should do damage.
That doesn't make any sense.
Nope. All right, guys, but we are going to be into this matchup soon. It looks like the teams facing off here, Curse versus compLexity. We are into the Rift as we get into... Wow, it's already your 5th match of the day.
I know, right?
Flying along.
It's your 5th match of the day.
It's my 5th match of the day. And we're going to see what these guys do. We got a Christmas tree of pings going out as they give us a light show.
I think they're basically pinging out exactly where they want to be going for in these early game engagements. And it's like Curse didn't put down many wards in their first matchup. They may not do it again. I talked with Elements about the level 1 situations, and he really doesn't think teams need to put down that many wards. Curse is very confident usually with their level 1 play.
I think it was TSM that we saw doing it. They kind of just put themselves all on the outside, and they didn't use any wards right in the beginning of there, and then they did the 1 minute and 40 wards, and they were able to come out with that strong. So we'll see. Looks like they aren't really using any, as you called. compLexity puts down their Wraith ward, and we'll have to see where they're going. St. Vicious and the team just putting down that ward as well. Voyboy playing some tricks with the Spiderlings up top.
So compLexity a little bit scared of where Curse could be. Lotomortis did flag the blue buff ward that Curse had placed. They don't know it's warded, but they do know that Curse wasn't there in the first place. So the low ward strategy is essentially just multiplying the volume of pings that we get to see as everyone's saying, I think they're over here or over there. And at the end of the day, we only see 1 ward placed by all of Curse and 2 wards placed by compLexity.
Nick Wu really enjoying that red elixir start for the lane. We'll see as he called out the wards. Placed down for the pinks yet. We saw that coming into play very big for CounterLogic in the early part of their first game. They were able to get that first blood because of it. And this ward being down here, there is some movement for it. I think they might be a little late. It looks like they may try to give them a smiteless one. If they do, they'll definitely have enough time to make it over. And it looks like they could.
Yeah, but they saw Lotomortis with their 1 ward. They knew that would be the threat. It's like, hey, we're going to need this ward. And it totally paid off. So St. Vicious did get to burn the smite, and they waste a bunch of Lotomortis' time.
And they look to continue. Yeah, he's just going to go back around. No early gank for him. We see a little bit of help going to the red buff here from the top lane as they did get the swap in. Jat, we're going to see how Zed, fares in this 2v1 lane. It'll be our first time.
Nick Wu doesn't get his wish. He doesn't get to brawl. He's got to sit in his turret against an unfair 2v1. And a bunch of early pink ward, like a early pink ward does go down from Elements as well as a blue buff ward, which tells me, especially based on the current position of St. Vicious, they're looking to either dive or kill the turret of Nick Wu within about the next minute.
Nuh-uh, that hasn't happened today.
That's never going to happen again.
I don't believe it, but he does pick that up. Looks like he was actually headed up by Wraith. He may just grab some extra experience before he heads back down to that lane. Or if they try to take down Chuper in mid right off the bat. Chuper has that teleport. We haven't seen too many mids taking that. So see, he can play the same effective role as Nijaki does, but on a higher cooldown.
And one really kind of unfortunate thing in the jungle, speaking of like the timing of the gank, is when St. Vicious smited the blue buff, Voyboy was in experience range because he panic smited once he saw Lotomortis in the ward. So Voyboy did hit level early, but it also delays St. Vicious's gank because he had to spend extra time in the jungle to get the level 3. So but after all that, compLexity's getting the turret first, and St. Vicious might actually be going for a blue steal instead of a turret steal.
They don't have any of the wards down there, and they got this one placed quite early. So that's going to be global gold coming in for compLexity to the buff control, which may affect that middle lane a little bit more as we go longer into this game.
This is kind of that next level that the better teams are on, though, because of the ward control that Curse had, St. Vicious could take the blue buff, and they could still get the turret because since Nick Wu didn't have any vision, there was no way of knowing that St. Vicious was about to dive him or whether St. Vicious was taking the blue buff. So they traded turrets, but Curse gets the edge.
So it was really Curse waiting on those turrets so they last now when it matters, when people are roaming. Those early wards we see compLexity placed have already fizzled out. They're not really giving too much help, and all they have are gank wards right now, not that entry that Curse is really taking advantage of. You see Nijaki versus Chuper in mid. They are quite even as they go back and forth, one with the flask, and it looks like Chuper actually went for the Fairy Charm Biscuit start.
And the differentiating factor for these teams, Riv, is where their lanes go now. because CLG decided to go mid, but compLexity is deciding to send both bottom, whereas Elements and Cop are still kind of bottom right now. So we know the turrets are getting killed at 4 minutes. They've agreed that that is going to happen, and now it's about roaming. So here comes Tarek mid.
All right, Mashmi and Bloodwater both went mid as well. They're going to do it this time. First blood coming up as Nyjackie gets the wild cards.
And Curse mimicking CLG a little bit for mid right away. Link was so proud that he saw double of mid at level 5, and now Curse trying to push down this mid turret hard, knowing Chuper's down.
Good harassment onto Laudo Mortis, getting as much damage as they can on both the turret and him, so they can press these advantages. Now at 5 minutes, 30 seconds into the matchup, they found a 1.2 thousand gold lead and 1 turret on each side. That kill coming in was a good amount of money.
So the early lead again for Curse. I mean, they've taken control of these teams so much in almost every single game in their 7-0 start. In their game against compLexity in week 2, compLexity snuck the early dragons and actually gave Curse a bit of a run right now, but unless compLexity tries a sneaky play now, they are getting outmaneuvered.
Nick Wu in that top lane getting pushed to his turret constantly. He's going to be able to get that matchup he wants now, though, 20-23. So for the 3 minutes he had at 2v1, he fared well. But they're back down to their single lanes. He actually bought a Doran's coming back to lane for a little bit of health and damage, so it looks like he just kind of wants to be a brawler right now.
And it's interesting, when he started the game with the red elixir, it almost seemed like they were going to try some kind of play to stop the 2v1 dive.
Chuper taking a bit.
As Chuper just gets a little harassed. But Nick Wu up top finally feels like he has his dream of brawling, that they've equalized. And the advantage here for Nick Wu as well is that Voyboy has no turret backing. So he does have, Voyboy does have the one ward in the top lane, but Nick Wu should be able to execute some of his Zed stuff up top.
Looks like Voyboy is actually playing way too passive for that. He puts the ward down. Looks like he's able to stay back. Now the bottom lane, a little bit of a pressure. Nyjackie comes in, a great lantern toss, and Brunch U makes it out.
So Chuper also teleported down at the same time. Miscommunication by compLexity.
Oh man, Chuper, what are you doing down there, buddy? He looks like he was 3v1, and Brunch and MIA trying to come in here to help this debacle.
It's just going to keep going. Here comes Jarvan.
Oh my gosh, the cleanse on the other side. Oh, he gets actually pulled back, but they get the crowd control and the damage necessary. It's going to be a back
here
again
comes
now. Nyjackie onto Brunch. Saint coming from the outside. He gets knocked up, but it's not going to be enough. The flash, while the slow was still on, didn't really give him a gap, and it looks like they come up with kill after kill. 2 for 2 overall.
That was nuts. What happened up top, though, hopefully we'll get a replay of this at some point. Voyboy got killed by Nick Wu, just 1v1 while everything was happening in the bot lane, so that is pretty crazy. That was a miscommunication. It was a brilliant Thresh escape when they were able to get away, followed by a poor teleport by Chuper, followed by that being a bait for Laudo Mortis to come in and gank. It was a little bit of nuttiness, and gold lead actually stays somewhat similar, a bit of a comeback for COL.
It's one of those things where you think you know what's going to happen, and then it just turns into a choose-your-own adventure, and you have no idea. 8 minutes on this one, 3-2, as it's only still 1.2k in the lead after all of that. Looks like they traded evenly. Destiny about to come back up for Nyjackie, and they'll still try to reproduce some more ganks. And we do have a replay of that top kill.
So we know that Zed has amazing level 6 burst, and Voyboy just kind of stuck around. He got ignited, he tried to brawl him, and Nick Wu just took him down. Flash, how does he do this? Nice play.
Being a ninja, man.
He's going to get him eventually.
He's going to chase it out.
He's going to get him eventually.
Walk it out, talk it out.
I think he's going to eat him.
Yeah, just couldn't make it work. Sometimes that has to happen. Show him who's boss. Back to Nyjackie in mid, graciously farming in his habitat, and down to Cop in lane. So we see these CS still hasn't been in any game too huge. 55-49 in the AD carry lane, 54-51 in the AP mid lane, or mid lane rather, and 41-43 in the top lane. It all comes down to once we break out of these lanes now, really.
And the nice thing is that compLexity might get a dragon again. They got the first 2 dragons in their first matchup during week 2, and it doesn't look like Curse was in position to take this one, so trying to sneak a little bit of a comeback, and we know how strong compLexity's team fight is going to be with Twitch sitting in the back, especially with how Rise scales on mid lane as well.
A lot of burst from Zed, from the crowd control. If he hasn't gone in first, to have Twitch just kill everybody that's softened up in the back. That looks like a scary late game lineup, but can they get there? Curse is trying to put the stranglehold on right now. Just those turrets on the top and bottom have been dropped in an overall slowdown from the games we've seen so far. Usually it was that second tier turret, and the teams would kind of back off until the fight phase. But right now it seems like they're trying to gather here at about 10 minutes into the game. Brunchew pushing that bottom out, trying to expunge and clear that wave as fast as possible to get there with his team in mid.
And now we also just see, after they got the Dragon Riv, looks like Curse is just trying to roll in through the back of it. So blue buff control, pressure control for Curse.
Yeah, everything that can plus those advantages. Nijaki with a good dodge there. Actually throws on his own barrier for the quick initial part of that engagement. MIA goes down very fast as Saint puts himself in the fight. He knocks up Trooper and he throws off a lot of the crowd control that compLexity has here. Trooper's out of mana. One last hit, a double kill for Saint as he comes up big there. Elements wants this one, throws down the last bit to Dazzle, but not before, yes, the shot came off. We've seen it so often these past few days. How unfortunate there for Lotta Mortis.
The auto attack projectile followed him through the wall. That was a great fight for Curse. They just caught them out in the right position. Jackie came in with that TF ultimate, really kind of caught them off guard, and they just focused down the primary damage dealers at the right moments.
And now compLexity looks to branch off and back with what they have right now. Hopefully good money in their pockets to get some of these items. Looks like the Brutalizer coming out for Nick Wu on Zed, and a few of those vision wards as well, again from the top laner.
And, you know, not many wards.
Overall, yeah.
That's a lie. I think there's a lot of wards. I'm just looking at the map now. It's just like, I don't see many wards in people's inventories, but there's a lot of wards on the map. There's 4 wards for Curse to 4 wards for compLexity, so there's a lot of wards on the map.
Right now, at this point in the game, 11 minutes in, Cop is 1,000 gold just about over Brunchew. You can see that with the BF sword as well. Is actually going for the damage of what would be a scepter, but he decided to go for just the damage of the sword since he has that sustain from elements.
And I really like it when AD carries can get away with this. You dump 800 gold into that Vamp Scepter, and it gives you 10 AD plus a bit of lifesteal, but Cop will get to his big items so much faster than Brunchew, and since there hasn't really been a laning phase for these guys where they've had to trade against each other, there was never a reason for Cop to pick up the lifesteal sustain because he's just never getting harassed. So smart item choices by Cop, really brute forcing his way into some big items.
We see as well Seeker's Arm Guard coming out for TF. Also might try for that Lich Bane that we've been seeing Twisted Fates go for, so they can be that menacing tower crusher as well towards that late part of the game if the team can get the advantage to do so. St. Vicious, after picking up those kills, looks like he does decide to finish the Wriggles this game, going for the Locket next. Saint praising the Locket ever since that change.
And he's praising the Wriggles too. Most Xin Zhao's start with a Razor and then rely on the lifesteal from the W.
Right.
But St. Vicious pretty much always completes to a Wriggles and will just live off that ward and the sustained lifesteals. We see a big tower dive from Curse.
The ultimate thrown down there actually from Rise, and they were able to go off of that knowing the damage burst wouldn't be there. Cop picks up a kill.
So the tower diving continues for Curse. They seem to execute that so well. Elements leading the charge, right? The Philosopher's Stone, he's going to get the boots mobility coming up pretty soon, and they're going to continue to try to do this to compLexity.
MIA trying to help Trooper in mid here. I feel like the use of that ultimate kind of solidified Lotta Mortis' death because they weren't afraid of that damage to come out. The teleport's still up for Trooper, so they can try something crazy here if they can. Focus a lane at least. Who would it be? You do have Saint. They can find him out. They get the bounty there. You got some kills on Cop, but these guys are playing safe. And
it's going to be pretty hard for compLexity to find the targets to focus just because of the way that Curse is building. For instance, Nick Wu is on the Zed where he's want to try to find his assassination targets, but Boy and Nijaki, their 2 AP champions, have rushed that Seeker's Arm Guard, so the armor's there, which means Nick Wu will not be doing nearly as much damage with that Brutalizer, and then when they get all the way back to Cop, he's going to be sitting right next to Elements, who's supplying him with what will be a 30 armor aura once Elements gets his 5th point into Shatter. So it is difficult for compLexity to find the right targets because, again, Curse is building smart, and they're playing smart.
I just have a double Seeker's Arm Guard coming out.
Yeah, both of them. They don't want Nick Wu to kill anybody.
Nobody's going to die. Close to 100 CS for 3 members coming up here on Curse. But again, compLexity trying to keep that gap close as they are right on the heels there, except for that 1-0 and 5. Nijaki in mid, getting himself the assists that we said he was going to turn into the assist master this game to the 0-3 and 1, and that's 1,000 gold right now as well. We'll see the AD carries at 1,100 gold and the mids at 1,000 gold difference.
So it's the accumulated advantage there.
Wow.
Some of that comes from TF right now, right? They have about close to 400 CS, so that's about 800 gold. But Laudamortis getting picked on again.
There he goes. They could find the damage here that they need. MIA standing on the outside. He wants to help so much, and it looks like he actually put COL, MIA, in a bad position. Laudamortis gets out, but no, he throws down the ultimate, and they make it out safely.
This time, Laudamortis could escape, and the box from MIA really shut that one down. The 99% slow that Thresh can throw down on that. It's got diminishing returns. It takes you to about 160 move speed, but it definitely stopped them from pushing that one in.
So it looks like they are going to go aggressive onto the Dragon, knowing they just pushed out a few ultimates and really hurt out Laudamortis. A great initiation for them at a perfect time.
But knowing that there is the TF ultimate down and the Taric ultimate down, Curse might try to force something here on compLexity.
The flash in from Elements. He's always talking about how he goes down first, but he does it so his team can get kills. And it looks like the focus going in. Voyboy is able to get one without losing anybody yet. Cop coming up with number 2 on Nick Wu. And it looks like the 5v3 continues. Wow, Laudamortis looked like he wanted to go in there for a second.
He couldn't make it there in time, right? Like, compLexity was poking around thinking, we want to fight when Laudamortis gets here. But Curse realized what they're doing, and wow, max range hook on a Saint!
Saint could be hit up here for a bit of damage, but he's trading back more than he's taking. The exhaust goes down, the tick from Twitch is on. Will it be enough from the passive burn? No, he's gonna steal the health back from his hits. The triple kill coming in for Cop, and they should not have extended that fight.
And that was just landing the max range hook, baiting them into a fight. Curse again turned it around on them, and they keep getting their advantages bigger and bigger. I thought Brunchu was going to clean up a lot more, but he just got focused down, couldn't get the right expunged off, and St. Vicious almost lived by auto-attack healing through the Twitch poison. And I was going to be like, wow, that was an amazing play by Saint, but he died anyway.
Yeah, he went down.
Even so, Curse with impressive play.
Still, they put themselves up now 6,000 gold, the quickest definitive lead we've seen 16 minutes into the game here. 12-3, our 5th match of the day. We're seeing Curse once again try to go undefeated. They've done it once so far today at 7-0 now. Can they be 8-0 at the end of this matchup? compLexity looks to tarnish that record, however. They still have the chance to do so. Regrouping, now they grab the blue, try to get some more items under their belt. The tier is stacking here. Looks like the rod will be finished quite soon for Trooper as well.
And Trooper's really going to have to get going because Nijacky's gotten to the item he loves on Twisted Fate. He's got his Zanya's Hourglass. That makes it, even more impossible for Nick Wu to kill him on Zed, because with the way Zed's ultimate works, it's kind of like you mark them, then you do a bunch of damage in your really small 3-second window, and then it explodes. But he can't do that if he's Zanya's, as Nick Wu is getting picked on again.
And he just gets repelled on there. The execute to come out, but it's actually going to be St. Vicious charging in for the kill there. 4-1-4, and you can see just Nick Wu in the background of that camera. So just disgruntled right now with what's happening.
This is a lot of kills that Curse has been able to pick up. We've seen kind of slower games today, but 13 kills for one team at 17 minutes. Considering a lot of them have just been kind of pickoffs is a huge advantage. And now we might see some turret action because there's 3 people mid for compLexity, but the push is still going up top for Curse. I think compLexity's got to fall back.
And Elements is actually warding up that jungle, more than happy to put a dazzle on anybody who comes through. He puts up 3 quick wards with a 4th in the tri-bush. They cannot be pinched from any way. We can see Laudamortis here trying to slice that pie and keep them in with the angle, but at no go. They get a ward over to Golems, and they see that there's just no chance for starting this fight right now.
But the pings keep going down. Wow. Voyboy really trying to pick some action.
That cocoon onto MIA and a few shots. Cop shot at once and his health disappeared. Laudamortis coming in and going down as well. Another double kill coming up for St. Vicious, and he is playing absolutely out of his mind now, at least last hitting champions.
6-1-4. There's more kills and assists on Cop and Elements, but St. Vicious really cleaning up. He is at the right place in the right shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Jin Zhao may not have the most minion kills, but he's got the 2nd most champion kills, so it's almost.
He does. That first shot that Cop had onto MIA was absolutely melting, and there was just no chance for him after that. Now that he's so big, he is actually 3,000 gold ahead of Brunchy right now in the AD carry position. 2,000 gold for your mids, and it's going to be the tops even at 5-5. So Voyboy, Nick Wu's still playing well for himself. He has kept himself in line with Voyboy, but it's not enough just by himself.
His Zed's actually been pretty good.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right about that. But the team fights have just not been there, as St. Vicious has been running in at the end of them, either initiating or cleaning them up. And now he's got, triple longsword, which is a good start on something else. He was actually complaining to me earlier. It's like, junglers always have the worst KDA. And I was like, well, yeah, because you have to initiate and usually dies. Like, fix it. It's like, I can't fix it
yourself. Looks like he took things into his own hands here.
Yeah.
Saint, please. 20 minutes into this one, 15-3 as Curse again taking it very slow and cautious as they come into a possible undefeated win. Keep their record going. Like we said though, compLexity is not out of this one yet, and they're still coming back. 3-1 on the turrets. The map control is still there to be had. Curse is kind of finding these fights out in the open. It really hasn't been anything crazy that took down 1 or 2 turrets or a dragon that was taken. These guys are kind of meeting and then nothing's happening.
It's getting close to being out of control for compLexity, right?
Right.
Like
It's close though. Yep.
You can only play this for so long. They've lost almost all of the control of the map because they're continually getting picked off, and I don't think they're confident in any of their teamfight plays. They're kind of just hoping that Curse makes a mistake in diving them, but all of Curse's dives have been extremely well executed, and now that they have Rise in the bottom lane with the teleport, this would be a small window if Curse were to like really hardly dive and then Chuper could teleport in. Something might happen, but compLexity is going to have a real hard issue initiating into Curse.
Rise tried to come in. Chuper is still on the backside though. They went on that Golem ward, but they were able to see it, and it's not really going to give them the initiation that they wanted. So if they see him apart, actually comp's in the bottom lane right now, and they're still backing off of this one.
They land the death sentence, so they're going to go.
Boy gets repelled up. That's the thing about this team. You find somebody, and it's either Saint that wants to dive in or Boy that's going to jump away. Nijaki, a great ult there, or a great dazzle there, I should say, as they come in, stopping up Lauda Mortis. It looks like they're going to go on and initiate this fight fully. Nikwu's in the back in the 3v1. The Zonias goes down, and he can't find the kill that he wants. And it looks like Lauda Mortis tries his hand at the 3v1. He could go down as well. Nijaki gets out, but so does he. Boy flashes over the wall to finish off the double kill. And it looks like the volatile spider will allow him to know it's not safe to go back in.
Nijaki with some amazing baits on Twisted Fate, popping the Zonias just as Zed jumped into them, and then I think everybody forgot that he had barrier because they all dove in to try to finish him off, and he just popped the barrier to finish off the kill. All the while, that was a 4v5, so Comp was split pushing the bottom lane. That was great for Curse.
Scary damage, not in the fight, and you still get to win it. compLexity rather has to reconsider how they engage in these ones. And really, that teleport was seen when they came out. That fight was telegraphed for a good 5 seconds for Curse to reinitiate.
compLexity was really pressing to know they had to do something.
Yeah.
Once they committed with the teleport from Chuper, they were just like, if we don't fight soon, Cop's going to kill our inhibitor, so we have to fight. We know we're down. We know we have a numbers advantage. Let's go. And Curse was like, all right, let's do it. And they fought them out. They won the fight 2-1, and they have an even bigger lead now.
So we see home guard boots being picked up onto Voyboy. It looks like these guys want to get back out of the base and into lane as soon as possible to keep the advantage once again in their favor. The Lich Bane almost being finished up here onto Nijaki, 1-0-9. Great KDAs coming out from Curse this game. 0-0-13 on Elements this time. But on the other side, we have 0-4-2 coming from Chuper in mid. Chuper had a great game. You know, when compLexity came up with their win, he was doing very well. Hopefully we can see that come out into fruition for the late game, and these guys, as they get a few more core items in, it's just getting harder for them, though, as they get later.
And Chuper had a great game the first time they played Curse, but this has not been his day. I think they tried to take Rise away from Nijaki, and again, they're just kind of trying to hold these outer turrets, but Curse is so much stronger right now with their kind of just awesome KDAs, as well as Lauda Mortis gets initiated on.
He is the one they've really been picking on a lot. They find Lauda Mortis, they find that key player, and they start to break him down. They have to be careful that they keep that calling and that captain structure they have in him, and he's still talking to the team. That's something that can really burden a team, is that everybody kind of shuts down when this kind of thing happens.
And it's one of those things I'm not really sure what to do. There's not too much talking going on. As you can see in the red cameras of Team compLexity, they're still playing the game, but there's not many good plays for them to make. And a lot of times, unless someone has something really good or constructive to say, they just don't talk. So they're trying to keep their motto up, but they don't really have many ideas of how to get back into this one.
All right, we do have Nikwu again grabbing up that red elixir. He wants the most damage he can get in this fight, and it's just going to be Saint Vicious. A face dive onto the team. That ultimate coming in from Jarvan actually helped the ultimate of Comp lock the team down, and they are now cleaning it up. Saint Vicious with another double kill coming in on this game, 8-2-5. He ends up on this one, unless they can pad the stats a few more times, but I think it's the Nexus turrets and the Nexus in their eyes, chat.
Absolutely fearless play by Saint Vicious. They've been playing this game long enough. 24 minutes is a very fast victory, but they're hammering on that Nexus.
And it is going to be a Curse 8-0 victory. They keep the undefeated roll going on, and into Super Wednesday, they look happy.